Welcome back to the channel, everyone. My name is Sass, and today we are discussing the Path of Exile 2 0.2.0e patch notes, as well as the recent hotfixes and the April 10th Steam page post that somehow slid off my radar. I had previously spoken about this update on stream, however the audio was pretty rough for that video, so I decided to redo it and give my thoughts on some of the other recent fixes as well as the future of Path of Exile 2. So sit back, relax, grab the patch notes that you'll find down in the description below. Let's see what's changed. Well, starting out the 0.2.0e patch notes, this patch contains many of the changes discussed in our recent news posts, including changes to Act 3. Player balance changes and new runes for attributes, as well as other improvements and bug fixes. The changes to Act 3 arenas removed the dead in the drowned city as well as part of the level that leads up to it. This reduces the overall size of the area quite a lot. More importantly, prevents the frustrating situation where you go the wrong way and have to backtrack. You'll notice that a lot of the map changes that they've made in this patch have basically shrunk down a lot of the kind of long, weird hallways and things like that. They've combined a lot of certain areas. So lots of little changes to each of the maps in Act 3, which is really nice to see because Act 3 does tend to drag on a little bit. So Exile had the exact same problem as the Drowned City, and we were doing the exact same fix. But in addition, has had a second dead end removed where the entrance to the treasure vault is located in the present version of this area. So Exile was a similar situation. I actually just recently played these on my mercenary. So just last night, actually, I made it through into Act 3 with my mercenary and the Drowned City and Exile both feel much, much better. All of the maps feel a lot better. They've done a really good job with this palette patch, and especially the map changes. It was obvious that it needed to be done. So the Apex of Filth has had the layout updated to resemble more of a linear flow like Agarat, making it smaller and faster to navigate. Again, just cleaning up a lot of those weird little jogs and stuff that they added in just to kind of stretch out the maps. It's really nice to see that everything is just kind of shrinking down, just becoming a little more streamlined. Isaac Bog is now more rectangular and slightly smaller. It's nice. The bog is another one of those big maps that there's really not a lot going on because it's just a swamp. Like, what all can you really do, right? But that's nice to see. They've changed the shape of it too. So hopefully that'll be a lot less time kind of backtracking to cover things. I'm one of those people that I like to clear an entire map, take out all of the monsters and everything like that, and then obviously go back later on and make sure I've covered every single nook and cranny so that I can find all that extra loot, because they have added in a bunch of other really cool things that you can find on your maps throughout the campaign now. So the Infested Barrens now has a bottleneck requiring you to go past the entrance to the Matlin waterways near the start, meaning that there's less things you need to try and find in this area. I've noticed that Infested Barrens is actually quite a bit smaller now, which is really nice. It was easy to get around and to find everything I needed to. A lot of the changes they've done for maps in Act 3 has been positive in my opinion. So the Jungle Ruins exit to the Infested Barrens has been made more clear and moved the checkpoint further so that you're more likely to see it. This area has also been made slightly smaller. Jungle Ruins exit. Oh, the Jungle Ruins exit. Yeah, it's a lot more obvious that there's like an archway and stuff now. Yeah, you pick it up right away, right? That the checkpoint is just outside of the little walkway now, so you don't actually have to hit the checkpoint and walk all the way in so you can see the entrance. So again, just shrinking down a lot of that extra walking that we had to do. Some variations of the Chimeral Wetlands have had the Temple of Chaos and Jacani's Machinarium entrances moved closer together to reduce backtracking and shifting around some of the entrances. I added an extra soul core to both Jacani's Machinarium and Jacani's Sanctum to reduce the average amount of time it takes to find them. This actually worked really well. I had all of my soul cores before I even covered, I think, about half of the map. obviously I just went back through and covered every little area of it, and I ended up having extra soul cores because of that. So this is nice to see. The checkpoint at the end of Jacani's Machinarium has been moved to beside the final stone altar. You can quickly return to the altar upon finding the soul core. Some sections of water in the Matlan waterways have been merged together to reduce the total amount of necessary levers to pull. This made a big difference. Matlan waterways are so much better. They basically the center of the map that you used to kind of S-curve through, and then you'd go out to like the left-hand side of the map. They've completely changed that now. So you pull a lever, you walk through the waterway, and then there's actually 2 levers off on side rims now that you pull those. And that opens up like almost the majority of the rest of the map. So there's way less backtracking and, jogging through that map. So I think it took me about half as much time to run through as it did before. Increased the instance timeout for areas with side areas off them. This should reduce how often you return from a side area and find the main area has been reset. This is really, really nice. I've noticed a really big difference in, especially myself, I like to cover an entire section of the map. So once I've cleared out that area, it's nice. Sometimes when I come back, it's like that hasn't all reset on me again. I gotta find my way back through. So they've definitely done a good job with this. They added a few more checkpoints to a handful of areas that didn't have sufficient checkpoints. In my opinion, there's still more that they could do when it comes to checkpoints. There's enough for now, but there's still a ton of backtracking that like you end up in a far corner of the map. There's a long ways you got to go to get back to your teleporter. There was a couple more of the maps in Act 3 that I played through with my mercenary, and it's still long run to get to that next checkpoint. So yeah, always happy to see those. I know they've talked about how it's just a band-aid fix for the maps and the speed and everything like that, but I have a feeling the checkpoints are probably going to stick around just because they are so useful. Like, it is nice to be able to just teleport across the map and hop in a teleporter and push around that way and not have to clear out the entire map again, right? The density of areas has been adjusted to account for level generation changes in this patch. So again, just changed a lot of like the backgrounds and things like that. There has been a pretty big change to like mob sizes. I noticed a lot of the Act 3 maps, the mobs were quite a bit smaller compared to a lot of the mobs in the first 2 acts. So there are a lot bigger, wider open maps in the first 2 acts. That might be why it feels that way. But I liked the Act 3 maps a lot better. All right, next up we have player balance changes. Bleed and Chaos Inoculation changes specifically. Bleeding no longer only considers damage dealt to the target's life. Damage dealt to energy shield or mana can now cause bleeding. This is really, really awesome. It was kind of annoying as playing as a bleed build that you'd have to like chop your way through an energy shield before you could even start applying bleed. So this is really cool that your bleed damage just bypasses now. It's just a flat stack, so you can build up that bleed a lot better. I've been running a Herald of Blood passive on my Huntress, and I'm really, really enjoying like playing around with Rake and trying to get to some of the other bleed skills later on. But it's made a big difference in making my build a lot more viable, being able to deal 3 energy shields now. Chaos Inoculation now additionally grants you immune to bleeding. Very nice. Chaos Inoculation is really, really useful. So most passive skill tree clusters that granted additional stun threshold based on your maximum energy shield now grant additional ailment threshold based on your maximum energy shield. This is a really cool change that they made. Previously, boosting your stun threshold was only so useful because if you never get hit, then you never really have to worry about stun threshold. And I'm kind of a roly-poly, so it's hard to hit me. So boosting my stun threshold was something I just never even considered. It was just a nothing stat, basically. So the fact that you're now getting ailment threshold as well, so less chance to get lit on fire or to get electrocuted or frozen or something like that, that kind of bundled together makes stun threshold something that's actually worth speccing into. Added a new jewel and time lost jewel modifiers for additional ailment threshold based on your maximum energy shield. Okay, so we got some new stats. Well, looks like they added it to a bunch of stuff. The jewel modifier for additional stun threshold based on your maximum energy shield now rolls 5 to 15%, so a nice little buff there. Previously 5 to 10%. Existing items can be improved to the new ranges by using a divine orb. The time lost jewel modifier for additional stun threshold based on your maximum energy shield now rolls 1 to 2%, previously 1%. Again, double. Very nice. Existing items again can be improved with the divine orb. Right, next up we have the sorceress specific changes. Firstly, Arc now releases damaging pulses when shocked enemies are hit, but can no longer shock. It does not consume the shock. The Arc now deals 9 to 51. I believe that's 9 to 51 damage at gem level 1, previously 9 to 50. So very, very small buff. Healing up to 80 to 462 at gem level 20, previously 72 to 410. It's about 50 points at max level. That's not bad. A little bit of a damage buff. Pulse deals 5 to 31 damage at gem level 1, scaling up to 49 to 277. So that's pretty good. There's a radius of 1.5 meters. Eye of Winter now gains bonus elemental damage when passing through other elemental orbs like Solar Orb, Orb of Storms, or Frost Bomb. Really, really cool. You can like multi-mix your elemental orbs now. It just kind of adds to that whole feeling of, you know, combos. They want you to use combos, combinations of different skills and spells, and you know, just maximize the amount of creativity you can have. Incinerate's fire exposure duration is now 8 seconds, previously 2 seconds. Wow, okay. That's pretty huge. Mana Tempest can now be used with all spells. Cool. It has been changed to cause empowered spells to split to additional targets instead of chaining or forking. Awesome. That's huge. So you get full power off of your spell with a split. Chaining and forking, you get reduced damage from that. That's a huge buff to Mana Tempest. Very cool. Frostbolt's explosion radius is now 2.4 meters, previously 1.6. Nice little buff there. Freeze buildup from Ice Nova and Ice Nova when cast near Frostbolts are now matching. Ice Nova now has 100 to 157% more freeze buildup at gem levels 1 to 20. Previously 50% only when cast on Frostbolt. Okay, so again, they're trying to influence that whole using combos thing. So Freeze got a massive nerf in the Dawn of the Hunt update, so seeing them kind of tweak things for Freeze a little bit is really nice to see. Frostbomb now has an exposure duration of 8 seconds, previously 5, and just a nice little buff. Mana Remnants now has a 25% chance to spawn a remnant on killing an enemy affected by an elemental ailment instead of only shock. Also works with all elementals. Cool. Now spawns a remnant on critically hitting a target affected by an elemental ailment no more than once every 2 seconds instead of only shock. So Mana Remnants, again, you can use it with any spell now, and it works with any elemental ailment as well. Wow. Mana Remnant might actually, that might end up being pretty OP for almost any magic user anyways. That's really good. Spreading ignites, such as from wildfire support or the Crackle Deep unique ring, now occurs after a 1 second delay, previously 2 seconds. Very nice. So your faster ignite. Wildfire support now causes ignite to spread to enemies within a 1.5 meter radius, previously 2 meters. Okay, so a little bit of a nerf on wildfire support, but it burns things faster just with a slightly smaller radius, so that's not that bad. Very nice, very nice. Little buffs there for the sorceress. Huntress specific changes. Parried enemies can no longer evade your attacks. This has been a game changer for the way that I play my Huntress. I'm really, really happy with this. It just adds to parry slowly becoming something that is going to be really useful. Previously, if you missed your disengage, you wouldn't get a power charge or a frenzy charge from the parried enemy. So sometimes they could dodge that disengaged attack. So this basically guarantees you a frenzy charge every time you use disengage after parrying. So that's really nice to see. Hopefully they add something else. I would love to see an ability that is similar to disengage, but instead of hopping backwards, you either stand your ground or actually jump forward, one or the other, just to add a little bit more mobility to it. So I do find that disengage often puts me like, obviously it's supposed to be used, you melee into range, you parry, you disengage, and then you throw spear from range, right? Because it's empowered at that point. That combo is obvious, but being able to do it the opposite way as well, with throwing ranged spears until you get into melee range, then parrying and, you know, having advance or something like that as your secondary skill, right? So you could disengage or advance kind of thing. I think that would be really cool to see, just to add a little bit more dynamic movement to parry, because parry is you already have to stand still and take a hit with parry. So kind of evens it out that you can go from moving backwards, stopping, parrying, moving forward, and it'll allow that flow from melee to range work a little bit better, I think. Rapid Assault's explosion now inflicts bleeding on hit. It has a radius of 2.4 meters, previously 2 meters. Nice little buff to Rapid Assault. Explosion now deals 142 to 312% of attack damage. Gem levels 5 to 20, previously 85 to 187. So a massive buff in damage for the explosion. And a pretty decent little buff as well, the radius. Very nice. Spear Field now has a spear duration of 10 seconds, previously 6. Explosion now deals 17 to 49% attack damage. Gem levels 5 to 20, previously 17 to 37%. I have noticed a huge difference in Spear Field. It has become my new trap weapon, where I just litter the ground with spears and then start attacking things. And it's a really great way to set up a lot of those combos and stuff, because by the time you get to attacking, especially the little mobs, it works really well with. You get those fast movers that kind of come at you really quickly. They get hit by a couple of exploding spears as you're running through. And by the time they get to you, they're already damaged. So then you can just quickly take them out. And yeah, Spear Field has been one of my favorite skills so far. Herald of Blood no longer destroys the corpses of rare and unique monsters when they explode, allowing you to use Ritual Sacrifice on the rare monsters. This is a cool addition, so you don't have to worry about not using your bleed abilities on those monsters that you do want to pick up for Ritual Sacrifice. Obviously didn't matter if you weren't taking Ritual Sacrifice, but nice little change there, just so that you can do both. In the warrior specific changes, the temper weapon skill granted by the Smith of Katavas against the Anvil Ascendancy passive skill now causes each strike of the anvil empower your next 3 melee attacks while channeling. Previously that was 1, so adding more utility to stopping and hammering away on your anvil there. So now has a maximum of 12 empowered attacks, previously 4, so again you can carry more. And now channels 25% faster, so you're 40% faster as well. That's a very large buff against the anvil. Combust now deals 80 to 290% of attack damage. Gem levels 1 to 20, previously 175 to 714%. All right, so they've reduced the maximum attack damage from Combust, but you can channel faster and stay channeled longer, so that's kind of nice. I think it still ends up being more damage as well. Empowering your next 12 attacks, so you're doing 3 times as many attacks Oh, 3 times as quickly plus the 25%. Yeah, so you're still doing more damage than it was previously because you're stopping less to use the anvil. So that's actually both a usage buff and a damage buff. That's pretty huge. Right on. Might have to do a Smithicatava Warrior next. Sounds like fun. Shield wall can now be detonated by war cries as well as slams. Nice. Armor break inflicted on player now lasts 4 seconds, previously 12. Oh, thank God. Armor break inflicted on non-players still lasts 12 seconds. So we get to keep the armor buff. That's awesome. I love armor break on my mercenary. It is so strong. I've got it combined with my Herald of Ash, with that, as well as using the armor explosion, broken armor explosion support, which every time I break a monster's armor, it creates an explosion, and then when I overkill a monster, it also creates an explosion. So it just ends up being these like multiple explosions all over the place. Everything is getting AoE damage. Really, really strong. A fully broken armor inflicted on players no longer causes the player to take increased physical damage. Fully broken armor on non-players remains unchanged at 20% increased physical damage taken from hits. Okay, cool. They say non-player, and I'm wondering if this still, I'm assuming this still applies to minions. So as much as this helps the player character, if you're running minions, that doesn't really help you much. Your minions are still gonna get hard with armor break. Ranger specific changes. Stormcaller Arrow's bolt now has an impact radius of 1.6 to 2.4 meters at gem levels 3 to 20, previously 1.1, 1.9 meters. So increased radius on the Stormcaller Arrow. If any target is hit by Stormcaller Arrow's bolt is shocked, it now also shocks enemies within 1.7 to 3 meter radius. Gem levels 3 to 20. Cool. So you've got a wider impact radius. On top of that, you've got exploding shock with the Stormcaller Arrow. That's really cool. It's really cool. And with Man and Tempest now being able to use with anything. Ooh. Interesting. Lightning Rod now deals 26 to 94% attack damage at gem levels 1 to 20, previously 20 to 72%. A little bit of a nerf there. Now has a maximum arrow duration of 20 seconds, previously 12. So ability sticks around for longer, but does a little bit less damage. And it's not that huge of a drop. We're talking 15%. So to get an extra 8 seconds out of your damage, probably evens out pretty good. Lightning Arrow's beam targeting radius is now 3.2 meters, previously 2.4. So again, more AoE for the Ranger. Very nice. Tornado Shot now has a maximum tornado duration of 15 seconds at all gem levels, previously 7 to 7.9 at gem levels 11 to 20. Very cool. Tornado Shot just got a big buff. I have no idea if anyone is using that. I haven't, that's for sure. Usually I've been using a lot of the electric for the Ranger, the lightning and stuff, so might have to check out Tornado Shot. Looks pretty cool. 15 seconds of tornadoes. Can't go wrong. What else do we have here? Other player balance. Rally support is no longer restricted to strikes or slams and can now support any melee attack you use yourself. Okay. Glory used by Hammer of the Gods and Spear of Solaris is now no longer consumed if you are interrupted while using the skill. Nice. So you're not wasting all of that tasty glory. Very cool. New support gem was added. They added a new support gem called Inhibitor that prevents charges being consumed but increases the damage of the supported skill by 4% for each type of charge you have. Inhibitor is offered at Uncut Support Tier 2+. Interesting. So it stops things from using charges. Not sure where exactly I would use support like that, but I'm assuming, I guess if you wanted to save your, like, frenzy charges for something different, you could put inhibitor on that specific skill so it never uses frenzy charges. I guess that makes sense. Yeah, if you only wanted to use them on your lightning spear, you just put inhibitors on other things. That's pretty cool. I like it. I'm all for more variety, right? Anything that'll let you tweak your build and adjust it to exactly how you want them. I can get behind that. Delirium changes. This will be end game. Delirium encounters now last approximately 2.5 times longer. So 2.5 times longer. Okay. Wow. The front of the Delirium fog can now continue expanding while doing other mechanics, though the back of the fog will still pause. This prevents scenarios where you pause the fog while on the edge of it, accidentally end the Delirium. Strongboxes now pause Delirium fog when they are opened, in addition to the pause they already had on completion. Okay, cool. Just giving you a little bit more control over those Delirium encounters. Nice. Monster speed changes. Here we go. This is the big old change that I've been looking forward to. It's the one that everybody's really been talking about for the past, probably since Path of Exile 2 came out, was that monsters are just ridiculously fast, and looks like the developers have finally agreed with us. They've got a bunch of really good changes. I've already felt a lot of these changes playing through, especially with my mercenary, which I'm a much more ranged fighter with my mercenary, so I'm trying to stay away from things. And I've noticed that you don't get swarmed nearly as much now. So really good changes here. Many human monsters, including the cultists in Freythorn, the Faradun, and the tribal humans in Act 3, have behavior where they can interrupt their melee attacks if the player moves too far out of range during the attack, especially for attacks that have multiple hits like swipe left to swipe right. These interrupted events have been primarily removed, especially on things that were attacking very fast, as it caused the monsters to be relentlessly able to pursue and attack you, giving you no time to engage or use skills between their attacks. So I had read this one previously. I'd read it wrong and didn't understand exactly what it meant. But basically what they're saying is that human monsters, so like the enemies, when they attack, were interrupting their own attacks. I thought it was interrupting player attacks. So basically what they were doing was, instead of taking a swing at you and then pausing and taking a swing at you, if you moved a certain distance away, what would happen is they would do their close range attack, but then quickly follow up with their medium range attack because you moved out of range. So instead of having that pause between attacks, they were just hitting you over and over and over and over and over again. And that's where that swarming mentality was coming from with a lot of the human monsters anyways. So nice to see that they've adjusted that. So hopefully that will reduce the chances of just getting absolutely mobbed by these small white monsters that just don't want to die. The worst part is, like, especially as a ranged fighter like myself, when I was playing as the mercenary, I really noticed the difference because I had played mercenary in the first update and then a little bit during the first release for Dawn of the Hunt, and it felt like I couldn't get any space. Like I couldn't push them off of me enough to, set up one of my turrets or to drop like a grenade or something, because they were just right there on my ass. So it's been a really nice change. Through Act 1, the haste aura monster modifier no longer appears on monsters that are already fast, which balances out a lot of that speed stuff. So if you do end up with a haste aura monster modifier, it's not going to be on one of those little tiny ants that just like swarm you instantly already. It's like, yeah, so nice little tweak there. I love to see that. Basically ensures that there aren't any outliers out there that are just going to be all over you. The werewolf prowlers and the tendril prowlers now will enter a walking stance as opposed to running after performing a melee action. They will only begin running again if you get a certain distance away from them. This behavior has been applied to many fast monsters. This has made a huge difference. Again, just reducing the chances of you getting swarmed. I've noticed it on tons of different monsters that completely changes their behavior now, and it makes them a lot less annoying to fight. They're still dangerous because they're still fast. They can get to you and kick your ass pretty quickly. They're just not constantly there. So that's been the nice change so far. The Hungering Stalkers now have 12% less life and damage. They were already relatively weak, but we have lowered it a bit further to account for their high movement speed and attack speed. They are intended to engage and attack quickly, but be weak and die fast. Very nice. Hungering Stalkers are kind of annoying. So make them a little bit more like cannon fodder. Reduce the number of bloom serpents found in the Red Veil. Cool. There did seem to be a lot of them. Like they pop up out of almost every tree, which is weird. Halved the number of venomous crabs and venomous crab matriarchs in the hunting grounds. This is really nice. Cultists in Freythorn no longer have interrupt events on their attacks as described above. And the Freythorn needed some work. It's so narrow and all these little tiny like walkways and stuff. You get absolutely mobbed by something and they would stuff you in the corner and you couldn't move. Cultists in Freythorn wielding axes and maces in Freythorn now walk after performing a melee action, only running again once you exit a certain distance. And that same change they've made to other monsters, mentioned again here. Slightly decreased the number of cultists in Freythorns. This made a big difference. They're just a little bit slower. They're not as mobby and just a little few less of them, so nothing wrong with that. Blood Cretans on death blood pools have had their duration decreased from 6 seconds to 4 seconds and fixed the area of effect to match the visual more closely. This is a great change. I'm so glad that they added this in. The Blood Cretans are probably one of the most annoying monsters I think that Path of Exile 2 has, just because like they're not hard to kill. It's just every time they die and they leave this like bleeding blob of stuff on the ground, and you step in it and instantly your energy shield is gone, and then you step in the next one and half your health is gone. Like it kills you so quickly. So to see that they've shrunk down how long they last, and then hopefully are just adjusting some of the hitboxes, because the hitboxes for it could be a little wonky. You can be standing outside of it but still taking damage. So nice to see that little tweak in there. Reduce the overall density of more challenging monsters in Ogam Manor. This is nice to see as well. Ogam Manor can just get overwhelming at times, so a good little change there. Act 2, the boulder ants have been replaced by Risen Marikath in the Valley of the Titans. Density of monsters in this area has also been adjusted. We've noticed this one as well. The boulder ants they're kind of a weird monster to fight. They're not difficult to beat, but they're just, when everything else is attacking you, they just kind of get in the way. So just seeing that change to the Risen Marikath obviously kind of fits the bill a little bit more as well for the Valley of the Titans. So, and they're fun to fight. The Marikath, they go down pretty quick. So the Faradun have all been modified to remove the interrupt events on their attacks as described above. So again, Act 2, the Faradun have gotten that little tweak as well. Dire Tusk Boar and Antlion Chargers are now more likely to push you to the side instead of pushing you along with them when they charge you. This is a really cool change. More than once I've gotten taken for a ride from the Dire Tusk Boar where he just like, he doesn't quite hit you, but he clips you on the edge, and then you're just getting dragged along with like a bunch of little monsters. Yeah, now when they hit you, they just kind of pop you off to the side, which is a much better change. The Lost City monster pack composition has been adjusted to result in less ranged monsters. Nothing wrong with that. Massively adjusted the Azak Bog, firstly by the aforementioned changes to interrupt events, but also changed the monster composition of the area to have less ranged and elite monsters. Interesting. Fixed an issue where Slither Spitters, Poison Spray, and Venom Crypts was dealing chaos damage instead of physical damage unintentionally. Ooh. Yeah, I can see that being a problem. Chaos damage is so hard to get resist for. So anything that we can have not do chaos damage, I'm okay with it. Because it's always the last thing I find for resistance. Boss changes. So they've lowered the amount and size of chaos rains, the purple ones, in the Viper and Napawatsu fight, and cleaned up the visual left afterwards faster to make the following drop locations more obvious. I just fought Viper last night and I got my ass kicked. I died like 6 or 7 times, but it was a lot of fun. It was a really good fight. The chaos rains is so much easier to dodge now. Especially the cleanup that they did for it. It hits the ground and explodes and then disappears right away, so you can see that next drop that's coming in, because before it was just unreal. Like, you just got lucky to not get hit by it. But now you can actually put some skill into it and actually dodge the drops that come in. So, but yeah, the poison spears are they're still OP as heck. Like, they'll take you down in 3 hits. It's still a difficult fight even with that change. Uxmal, the Beast Lord, can no longer recharge energy shield while they are in the air. Thank God for that. That's so annoying. Especially if you're a melee fighter, it's like you can't touch them while they're flying. So if they can just recharge it, float away. Uses his flame breath less often. Okay, cool. It has the number of times they can change locations throughout the fight reduced. That's really nice. You're not having to chase him so much. The arena of Seclusion, I think is his name, has had its ground foliage removed in order to make its effects more visible. Oh yeah, it's the Chimera, is he not? Seclusion? Yeah, I noticed that last night. I did that fight. And the central area that used to be like covered in grass and stuff, it's all stone now. So you can see when he drops his like his frost breath or his fire breath, you can see it much better. Player minion changes. Anybody who's running a minion build, they have done a few changes there. We've changed the way that minion revive timers work. So when your first minion dies, it sets the revive timer to 7.5 seconds as before, but each successive minion that dies increases it by less and less. It's still capped to a max of 7.5 seconds. This should heavily mitigate the situation where most of your minions are dead, but the revive timer keeps resetting to 7.5 seconds over and over again. So this is a cool change that they did just to make minion death feel a little less painful. You'll still have to wait. Obviously, all your minions, if they die, you're still going to have to wait for the 7.5 seconds. But at least this way, your wait time is now variable depending on how many minions you have left. So the more minions you have alive, the slower your wait time is. Disenchanting a Bind Spectre or a Tame Beast gem will unbind them, allowing you to use them again. That's really, really cool. That way you don't have to keep finding gems. You can just unbind one of them and bind it to a new monster or something. So that's really cool. Tamed beasts now fit through the gaps of the same size that the player can. Nice that your little companions can follow you and defend you. Obviously, that was probably an unintended for the larger creatures that you can tame. So very, very cool. Crafting changes. We've now finished adding all of the mods to runes for caster weapons: Desert, Glacial, Storm, Iron, Body, Mind, Rebirth, Inspiration, Stone, and Vision runes all now work with wands and staves with their own set of modifiers. This is really cool. I saw a couple of these last night when I was playing around and checking out some of the weapons and stuff like that. We've got 3 different tiers of runes that you can put on like your wands, your staffs and stuff like that. So really nice. And a lot of the modifiers like make a lot of sense. So it's definitely come together nicely. I was wondering when they were going to add runes for wands and things like that, because you really couldn't do much other than hit them with orbs and hopefully get lucky. So nice to see they're adding that in. Renly's abandoned shop in Ogum Village now also has a blank rune, which Renly can forge into any elemental rune of your choosing in case you didn't find any up to that point. Oh, that's really cool. Very nice. If there is a specific rune that you're looking for, you can just get him to whip up that element for you. Nice. It's a good touch. Added 12 Artificer's Orbs to fixed locations throughout the campaign, allowing you to craft with them more often. This is really nice to see. I actually found a couple of these at some of the bosses as well. And some of the missions later on in Act 3, you can get Artificer's Orbs as well for completing some of the missions. So really, really good addition. I'm always looking for more Artificer's Orbs, so this is a good way to kind of set you up throughout campaigns so that you can constantly be playing around with runes and stuff. Added 3 new rune types for attributes, allowing you to fix early game requirement issues: Adept, Robust, and Resolve. So that is Strength, Dexterity, and Intelligence. This was really cool. I've actually used a couple of these already just to get my minimum requirements up so that I could, like, you know, add a modifier in or use a support or something like that. I think I was a little bit short on some intelligence so that I could use a support gem last night, and I just plopped one of my runes into an armor where I was just like, hey, give me some, you know, give me some intelligence, and boom, there we go, problem solved. And later on, when I get an extra skill point or something, I'll just replace that and put an actual stat boosting a stat boosting rune on that piece of armor. So really nice to see that they've added this in so you can just kind of tweak things as you go. And then also, so your passive skill points aren't always going towards, having to spend them on attributes. That's the other thing too, is you might have really good early game passive skill points that you would rather put points into that rather than having to spend them on attributes so that you can wear the good gear that you have. Okay, so we're into the end game changes. Finding rare monsters in end game. During end game, a common issue is missing a rare monster in the corner of the map that you didn't happen to explore. In order to mitigate this issue, we have changed rares to show up on the minimap at all times. That's perfect. So it's any of your quests and stuff that pop up in your end game maps, and you might need to, kill 15 rare monsters. Okay, so you go around, you kill all the monsters, and there's just like that one left. Now it'll pop up on your minimap. So nice little change, good little quality of life fix. Other improvements, they added a rune to a fixed location in the Titan Grotto. Very cool, so you get some extra runes that way. Increase the number of armor scraps and blacksmith's whetstones that can be found in the Modun Quarry. This has increased a lot. I noticed that it's probably going to be the place to go if you want to mine for armor scraps and blacksmith whetstones, because prior to this change, I think I had 7 or 8 of each. I know I had more of the armor scraps than anything else. I think I might have had like 12 of those, but I had under 20 of each. After the change to that and playing through with my mercenary, I think I found like 25 of each. 20 of each in that level. So this is definitely going to be the place to go to if you are looking for those upgrades for your weapons and your armor. They've changed it a lot. There's a lot more to find. Dread Servant's Undead Tornadoes no longer benefit from additional projectile modifiers and now deal damage far less frequently. Okay, very cool. You're not going to get tornado blasted with fire and lightning and stuff. So Dread Servants are just ridiculous, extremely strong monsters anyways, so we'll appreciate the nerf to that. Antlion's Charger Charge is now more likely to push you to the sides as opposed to dragging you along with it. They mentioned that above. They also now have less Antlions and more fodder when found in map areas. Oh, okay, cool. Now, Wrathbreaker and Kadron, the Hyena Lord, have had their damage reduced. Nice. Wrathbreaker, I didn't think he was that difficult. He probably didn't need the damage reduction. But the Hyena Lord Kadron's an annoying motherfucker. Oh my god, he's horrible. It's because you get attacked by the ranged guys on top, and then the hyenas also come in from the sides and attack you melee. So it's an overwhelming fight to begin with, and he's extremely strong. He's got some really good AoE abilities. Added lighting to rogue exiles to reduce the likelihood of losing track of them. Okay, like a little outline kind of thing. Very nice. Make it a little easier to fight them. I haven't found any of those yet, but I am excited to find one. I'm hoping once I get into maps here soon, I'll be able to check one of those out. I've seen a couple of people fight them, and it looks like it's quite the fight. Further improvements to the pushiness of various monsters. Read less pushing. So again, just buffing your ability to kind of make your way through mobs of monsters, making sure that they're not shoving you into corners and stuff. So very nice to see. Right, and next up we have all of the bug fixes that they've been working on. Obviously there have been quite a bit of bugs and little issues and things like that with the new updates, which is obvious. It's going to come with every update. But obviously if you guys notice anything that is broken or weird or whatever it might be, make sure that you guys drop in a bug report to them. Let GGG know where the issues are, because if they don't know about it, then they're not going to be able to fix it. So make sure you let them know for sure, because they have been busy on that front, making sure everything is smoothed over. So let's keep that going. Always provide constructive feedback. It's always important. Fix a bug where the blood boils from the Ritualist Ascendancy didn't propagate if the monster exploded on death, such as when using Herald of Blood. Very cool. Yeah, blood boils is obviously works best when there's, you know, groups of monsters. So being able to use blood boils with Herald of Blood will be kind of nice. So good little change there. Fixed a bug where divine orbs were affecting fractured modifiers. Oh, interesting. Okay. The new fracture orbs that they added that allows you to like isolate specific modifiers. So that's really cool to see. I think they fixed that one. Fixed a bug where unique jewels that affect passes in radius were not functioning correctly with small attribute passive skills or small class specific passive skills. Oh, interesting. Okay. Your jewels should be working properly now. Fixed a bug where partial armor break had an infinite duration, or if you or the target never had fully broken armor. Interesting. It's a weird bug. I didn't notice that before. Infinite duration on armor break. Interesting. Fixed bug where the combust from the temper weapon skill granted by Against the Anvil Smith of Patava Ascendancy passive skill was failing to deal damage. Oof. Alright, so I guess that's what that little change was that they tweaked that and fixed it too. Fixed a bug where taming a beast in the Trial of Sekhmet would prevent you from progressing the encounters for real this time. So I know that was an issue when they first released Dawn of the Hunt. So and see that they've actually fixed that one. I know that the last hotfix that they put out for it didn't end up cleaning that up. So fixed a bug where manifested weapons could fail to hit a target if they were too close to them. Interesting. Okay. Fixed a bug where Whirlwind Lance just skedaddled when supported by Fork. Skedaddled? Okay. I didn't know that that was an official gaming term. It's true, it did kind of just like take off on its own, so didn't hit a target. All right, fixed a performance issue with Whirlwind Lance. Cool, we're not going to lag when using it anymore. Fixed a bug where it was possible to apply Thorns damage to yourself, such as through using the Crown of the Pale King and Fire Flower unique items. Interesting. Just slowly killing yourself off with your own armor. Nice. Fixed a bug where Electrocute was not counting towards per elemental ailment on the enemy. Oh, okay, cool. I'm guessing that kind of all the cleanup that they did for the elemental ailments there. Fixed a bug where Bloodhound's Mark would have an incorrect heavy stun build up. Ooh, okay. Fixed a bug where Unsteady Tempo was able to support channeling skills, though it had no effect when it did. So you're just wasting a support gem spot. Bummer. Fixed a bug where strong boxes could sometimes fail to open. Ooh. Nice fix there. Fixed an issue where canceling out of the open animation for Ixhel's Torment unique strongbox would cause it to not open. Ooh. Okay. The strong boxes are a new thing that they added, so obviously there's going to be some little bugs and stuff with those. Fixed a bug where the essence of infinite was dealing damage far too early. Okay. Fixed an issue where the Sandspit map was failing to add additional packs of monsters. Ooh, could be an issue. Just wait until there's nothing. Fixed a bug where a force field could appear in the middle of the boss arena in the Copper Citadel map. Ooh, I think I ran into that, but oh, this must be endgame maps. Copper Citadel. Fixed a bug where you can become stuck in unwalkable terrain while using the Alpine Ridge or Castaway map boss checkpoints. Alright. Fixed a bug where hideout maps were unable to be completed if Delwyn was present. Fixed a bug that caused desync to occur when trying to walk around the default map device in a hideout. Fixed a bug where parry could become unbound from your skill bar after changing areas when using a controller. A weird bug. Fixed a bug where skills were disabled if you were revived while spectating party members when using a controller. Okay. Fixed a bug where you could be prevented from leveling up your companions when using a controller. A bunch of controller fixes. Fixed a bug where the split keyword pop-up stated projectiles that split fired at a number of targets within 4 meters when the actual radius is 6 meters. Right. Fixed a client crash that could occur when Ancestral Warrior Totem in party play. Alright, fixed a client crash related to applying the Impaled debuff. I wonder if that was some of our crashing that we had at the start of release there. Fixed 3 other client crashes, very nice. Fixed 2 instance crashes, again, very, very nice. The patch may take roughly 15 minutes to be available to download on PlayStation after it has been deployed, and it has been deployed for quite some time, so you guys will definitely have that patch already. They've also added in a few little hot fixes along the way. I didn't talk about these last time. Obviously, they weren't out yet, but hey, we're redoing the video, so we might as well talk about those as well. So the next hotfix that they brought in was where they fixed an issue where the Queen of Filth was not present in the Apex of Filth. So this is as of April 12th, 2025. Ended up fixing that so you could fight the Queen of Filth. I didn't actually notice that because I didn't get to her until last night. Later on in the evening when I ended up fighting her, so this patch would have been out already early morning. So hotfix number 2, they fixed a bug where some vines like those used by Bramblegast were able to be bound as a specter. So now they've been tweaking a lot of the specter settings and stuff, and just making sure that they've narrowed down exactly which monsters can become specters and stuff. So nice little bug fix there. In the hotfix number 3, in endgame maps with bosses, if you now die after defeating the boss, it will no longer create a new area and remove all other content. It will instead respawn you at the previous checkpoint within the same area. So this is fixing the on death animation trap that you see where buddy drops a trap, he dies, and then you die right afterwards to the trap. This way all of the loot and stuff that's just laying there is not going to get reset now. It'll just bump you back to the checkpoint. You'll be able to go and pick up those items again. So nice little change there, so you don't actually miss out on anything. So, and hotfix number 4, the maximum number of volatility stacks is now 200. This is additive with the passive skill tree notable controlled chaos. This is a stopgap fix to temporarily prevent abuse cases that were infinitely stacking volatility to gain absurd amounts of damage. We'll be doing a more final fix at a later time. So again, controlled chaos was just becoming uncontrolled chaos. So a little tweak there that they've done. Fixed a bug where ongoing life per second costs. Didn't realize you couldn't pay them when the lich's eternal life notable prevented life from changing. Oh, okay, so eternal life is now eternal life. Perfect. All right, so the other thing that I wanted to talk about was a little post that was made on April 10th. This was actually over on the Path of Exile, the original BOE1 Steam page. I noticed that there was some discussion and stuff happening about it. They posted some PoE2 news on the PoE1 page, which is kind of weird, but I figured, hey, let's check it out and we'll talk about it anyways. So here's the post here. As the week wraps up, we pulled together a list of changes we're targeting for deployment in a patch mid next week. We've been busy making improvements to Path of Exile 2, so here's what's on the way. One of the most requested features we have had is the ability to respec ascendancy classes. However, something that was important to us was to make sure that while it can be done, it does require some level of effort. We have implemented it in the following way. Redoing an ascendancy trial allows you to respec which ascendancy class you have chosen at the Ascension device, but only if the trial would grant you the number of points you already have. So obviously, you know, you can't respec your entire character with just a trial of the Sekimas. You'd have to do a chaos trial or something like that as well. In order to respec your ascendancy class, you must have 0 points allocated in it, but you can now open the respec window at Balbala or the Trial Master, who are standing next to the Ascension device. Very cool. Ultimatums that have 7 chambers and thus grant up to 4 ascendancy points can now be done from level 55 down from 60. Okay. Ultimatums that have 10 chambers and thus grant up to 6 ascendancy points can now be done from level 65 down from 75. So they've reduced the cap level for those ultimatums. Really, really cool. This change should be deployed in the next restart patch, currently anticipated to be mid next week. In addition, we have some other changes that have been made today that will be in that patch as well. End-game changes, an unintentional problem with tower maps and hideout maps that they don't currently spawn the rare monsters for the clear condition. Due to this, they also don't drop the extra map that is designed to allow for guaranteed map sustain. We have added extra rares to tower and hideout maps, and also the extra map drop that can come from the final rare kill. This is still not required to complete the map. I got some crafting changes. As each new rune tier is unlocked, we are removing the lower runes from the drop pool. This is to stop you getting spammed with lesser runes at higher levels. We will adjust drop rates as that occurs so that you can get more reasonable number of total runes. This is really nice. You're not going to get stuck with a bunch of lesser runes as you're getting into like the Cruel and Act 3 and stuff like that. Yeah. Obviously, you don't want to be continually collecting those, so they'll start spitting more of the higher level runes at you. Now we're adding the ability to add sockets to scepters and adding mods to some talismans for scepters to allow upgrades to your minions at mid to late game. Really cool. Nice. So scepters will be the next thing that'll be getting sockets, which is really cool to see. Totem changes. We have had quite a few reports of totems not surviving an endgame due to not gaining as much elemental resistance as the player does. In order to solve this problem, we have made the following changes. Totems start gaining elemental resistances from gem level 15 up to 75% at level 20. Ironwood support also adds some maximum elemental resistance to totems. So really nice if you're playing any totems. They'll have a nice little buff coming for you guys pretty soon here. A Shard Scavenger. I've been running this on my mercenary, so hopefully they haven't nerfed it too bad. Shard Scavenger is really, really strong with the armor break support ability and the armor piercing rounds with the mercenary. So if you want to run an armor break mercenary, that's like one of the best ways to do it that I've found anyways. It strips armor really quickly. You get the armor explosion from the armor breaking support, and then on top of it, with Shard Scavenger active, you also build up your own armor at the exact same time. So just a nice little 3 combo. Shard Scavenger, in addition to its current effects, will now also restores 1 cooldown use for all your grenades and grants a buff for 2 seconds that prevents your crossbow attacks consuming pulse. Wait, what? Oh my gosh, that's so strong. That is so strong. Cooldown use for all your grenades. That's huge. I love it. Thank you, GGG. It's a nice little buff. Oh, I can't wait to try that out next week. Right on. My skills on the gem cutting tab. When using an uncut skill gem, it was often annoying to find the skills that you were using from off classes to level up. In order to fix that, we have added a new tab to the gem cutting window that shows you all the gems you have equipped. Nice. This list of the changes are just the changes that we have been made so far. These are not the only changes we are investigating, and they do not represent a full list of what players are reporting to us. So again, we obviously have a lot more coming down the pipeline. So yeah, so plenty more changes coming. So make sure you guys stay tuned. That was the Path of Exile 2 update 0.2.0e, as well as some of the hotfixes that they've released over the last couple of days. I'm really excited to see where the game goes from here. It's feeling great already. The changes they've made have drastically changed the way that I play the game, which really makes a big difference. It's feeling a lot more smooth. The combat feels a lot more flowy. I'm really enjoying the Huntress and the Mercenary. I'm excited to jump into the Warrior next. We're going to check out the Smith Katava for sure. There's also a bunch of new ascendancies that we can check out, so make sure you keep an eye out for that. But yeah, that's everything we have for you today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and you found it at least entertaining or somewhat educational. If you haven't had a chance to check out the Path of Exile 2 patch notes, I do have them linked down in the description below, so if you want to click on that, you can go ahead and check out all of the patch notes yourself and figure out how much your classes have been buffed or nerfed or whatever it might, how it might affect you as you're moving forward. But yeah, that's everything we have for today. So thank you all for watching. My name has been SASS. This has been a Path of Exile 2 update. We will see you next time. Happy hunting, survivors.